You've been duped by every Tesla bro meme and half the Netflix documentaries. Edison didn't steal Tesla's ideas. Blame Hollywood blockbusters and lazy thumbnail philosophers, because the real story is far messier and way juicier. Everyone loves the fairy tale of Edison twirling his mustache, snatching Tesla's brilliance, and leaving Nikola weeping on a rain-soaked curb. This cartoon villain narrative? Thank movies like The Prestige and 19th century myths they lazily recycle, none of which grasp how invention actually worked back then. Here's the shocker. In the 1880s, any engineer at Edison's company had to sign contracts handing ownership of inventions to Edison. Totally legal under 19th century US patent law. Tesla didn't quit because Edison stole ideas, but because Edison stiffed him on a promised bonus. Source: W. Bernard Carlson's 2013 Tesla, Inventor of the Electrical Age. And those famous AC patents? Filed in 1888 under Tesla's own name, Edison had zero claim. Picture Edison in a mask robbing Tesla's lab? That's just Hollywood heist nonsense. Calling Edison a patent thief is like claiming your boss stole your email signature. If you still believe the Tesla as victim myth, congrats! You just got played by Victorian HR rules, and we're living in 2024. While debates about idea theft swirl around Edison and Tesla, it's also important to consider how Tesla's life concluded, often portrayed as penniless and unrecognized. Hollywood lied to you. Tesla did not die broke and forgotten. If you believe the sob story spun by movies like The Prestige and lazy clickbait, it's time to get the real shock. The truth? Tesla wasn't a tragic martyr lost to history. Actual 1930s newspaper archives show him giving interviews to The New York Times on his 75th birthday in 1931. Definitely not a ghost fading into oblivion. And get this, New York City awarded Tesla the prestigious Edison Medal in 1917, the highest honor from the American Institute of Electrical Engineers. He lived comfortably at the Hotel New Yorker, with bills paid by wealthy patrons like John Jacob Astor, showered with gifts from admirers. If you swallowed the starving genius myth, you've been binging on Oscar bait. Tesla wasn't some 20th century TikTok influencer begging for fame. Next time someone spreads this nonsense, ask if they've heard of a little company named Tesla. That's the real legacy Hollywood tried to erase, like claiming Elon Musk's cars run on fairy dust. Though Tesla's financial struggles are noted, controversies also highlight Edison's actions, such as allegedly electrocuting animals, supposedly aimed at undermining Tesla. Hollywood and viral history memes have straight up lied to you. Edison did not zap elephants out of some cartoonish grudge against Tesla. Forget the soap opera, this was a brutal corporate street war. If you believed movies like The Prestige that glamorize this rivalry as personal vendetta, think again. Edison's campaign wasn't about Tesla. It was about crushing AC power to protect his DC money machine. In 1903, Edison orchestrated the public electrocution of Topsy the elephant, captured in chilling newsreels to scare the public away from AC electricity. Tesla was just a technical footnote. The real target was George Westinghouse, the AC mogul posing a deadly financial threat, as detailed in scathing 1890s New York Times exposés. That iconic 1890 electric chair execution? Edison's ruthless PR stunt, not a revenge plot straight out of a sci-fi thriller. If your mental image is Edison chasing Tesla with jumper cables like a low-budget horror flick, you've swallowed a meme bigger than Sharknado. Corporate wars don't play out like playground feuds. They're savage money grabs, plain and ugly. Beyond the claims of animal electrocutions, the broader current wars involved more complex issues than mere personal rivalry between Edison and Tesla. You've been conned by Hollywood, and every lazy history book pulling the wool over your eyes. The real current wars weren't some geeky Tesla vs. Edison nerd turf war, despite what prestige TV dramas pump out. The biggest lie? That the war of currents was just two eccentric inventors squabbling over whose wires would electrify America, Edison's DC or Tesla's and Westinghouse's AC. Blame films like The Current War, 2017, and those Hollywood biographies that obsess over brooding genius posing, while burying the massive corporate cash grabs beneath the surface. Here's what they don't want you to know. Ruthless industrial barons and Gilded Age titans, like J.P. Morgan, Edison's main money man, flooded billions into this fight. Dive into Westinghouse Company financial records from the 1890s, and you'll find a brutal industrial arms race. Even crazier? The 1889 New York State Electric Execution Commission hearings weaponized the electric chair as a PR stunt to scare the public off AC power. So if you believed Edison and Tesla were just subtly throwing shade at each other, congrats, you just fell for the 1890s version of celebrity Twitter beef with way higher stakes and deadlier consequences. It's like thinking corporate sabotage on Wall Street is just office gossip. Understanding the multifaceted nature of the current wars leads us to consider misconceptions about Tesla's solo role in invention and innovation. Hollywood lied. Nikola Tesla was not the lone genius battling a storm to single-handedly invent the future. If you believe this fantasy, blame those pop biographies and 21st century films like The Prestige that glorify Tesla as a Balkan Tony Stark working in complete isolation. The truth? Patent records, like U.S. Patent No. 390,021 from 1888, spell out collaborators. The 1893 Chicago World's Fair program openly credits Tesla's team alongside Westinghouse engineers. Tesla's own letters to Charles F. Scott, preserved at the Smithsonian, reveal detailed joint experiments. Tesla wasn't brewing coffee alone in his lab. He was part of a crew. If you think Tesla worked solo, you might as well imagine Iron Man inventing the arc reactor before breakfast. Real invention demands teamwork. Believing otherwise means you're already halfway to pitching a startup armed only with a cat and a lightning rod. While Tesla is often seen as a lone inventor, contrasting stereotypes paint Edison as an uneducated tinkerer, which warrants a closer examination. Hollywood lied about Edison being a wild-haired, unschooled loner. If you believe this myth, you've swallowed the biggest myth Hollywood churns out about inventors. The current war. And a century of lazy biographies paint Edison as some rogue tinkerer who lucked into genius in a dusty barn. But 19th century Menlo Park lab logs, Edison Papers Project, Rutgers University, reveal ruthless organization, research teams, intense brainstorming, and endless note-taking. Edison wasn't stumbling over wires. He was devouring Michael Faraday's 1844 experimental researches in electricity and hiring top scientists like Princeton's Francis Upton. Edison was less mad genius and more human Google Docs on steroids. So if you pictured him as a lone cowboy inventing in chaos, you've just binged Hollywood's clearance sale version of history, like believing Elon Musk designs rockets on a cocktail napkin. Despite perceptions of Edison's background, myths around Tesla extend into extraordinary claims, such as his supposed development of free energy conspiracies. You've been straight-up conned by YouTube hustlers and maybe some steampunk-obsessed sci-fi fanatics into believing Tesla could power your house for free. The craziest part about the Tesla free energy scam isn't the tech. It's how desperately people will twist actual history to chase unicorns of infinite power. Everyone swears Nikola Tesla invented a secret device for limitless wireless electricity, conveniently buried by evil corporations. Here's the kicker. This fairy tale didn't come from Tesla's 1890s patents, but from sensational 20th century biographies, fringe documentaries, and yes, clickbait thumbnails. Crack open U.S. Patent 645-576 from 1897. You'll see Tesla was developing tuned radio circuits, not pulling watts from thin air. The New York Times in July 1904 called his Colorado Springs experiments flashy showmanship, not a suppressed miracle. Tesla's own lectures? All nuts and bolts engineering with zero space wizardry. Still drinking the free energy Kool-Aid? You probably also believe Wi-Fi runs on moonbeams and good vibes. Such conspiracies add to the image of Tesla and Edison as mortal enemies, locked in constant conflict. Hollywood lied. Tesla and Edison were not mortal enemies locked in an epic rivalry. If you believe their war of currents was a blockbuster showdown, you've been duped by biopic screenwriters and Edison-hating memes. Movies like The Current War and endless clickbait hype transformed two 19th century inventors into Marvel-level arch-nemeses. But the real story? Way less dramatic and far more boring. Tesla worked for Edison only briefly in the early 1880s, before quitting over unpaid bonuses, not some epic grudge match. In a 1896 interview, Tesla even called Edison a great experimenter. Their preserved letters at the Thomas Edison National Historical Park read like stiff office memos, not WWE trash talk. So if you bought into this Hollywood rivalry fantasy, welcome to the club of people tricked by sensationalism. Their biggest real fight? Who left the coffee pot empty at the lab, like two grumpy engineers in a cubicle, not superheroes battling over the fate of electricity. This perceived enmity fuels stories that Edison personally sabotaged Tesla's career. You've been fed Hollywood's biggest lie, that Thomas Edison went full supervillain, single-handedly crushing Nikola Tesla's career. If you bought that, you've swallowed more movie fiction than popcorn, thanks to films like The Prestige and every history book desperate for a soap opera villain. The truth? Edison stiffed Tesla on payment for the DC dynamo upgrade in 1885. Yeah, that stings. But it's ruthless 19th century business, not a comic book vendetta, straight from Tesla's own 1919 autobiography, My Inventions. The battle was corporate, not personal. Edison electric light courser memos from the late 1880s, sourced from Thomas Edison National Historical Park archives, show a standard rejection of AC technology, just like every other industry player. So if you imagined Edison chasing Tesla with a menacing laugh like a cheap Marvel villain, congratulations, you've turned history into a low-budget superhero flick. However, the impact of such sabotage is questioned when examining how AC technology was adopted following Tesla's inventions. You've been duped by Hollywood and those lazy science textbooks. The idea that Tesla's AC instantly revolutionized electricity is pure fantasy. Blame movies like The Current War and one-paragraph textbook summaries for pushing the lie that Edison's DC vanished as soon as Tesla flipped the switch. The myth? AC arrived, DC died, and everyone immediately basked in a neon utopia. If you believed that fairy tale, you've been played. Reality check. Decades after the 1893 World's Fair, where Tesla's AC wowed crowds, most U.S. homes still ran on DC. New York's last DC power line didn't shut down until 2007. Don't just take my word for it. Con Ed's archives prove it. Throughout the 1910s, utility reports and the 2017 IEE Spectrum documented tangled, mixed grids as customers clung to DC, and local power battles raged. Even the New York Times in 1913 griped about malfunctioning gadgets thanks to the chaos. If you thought AC was an overnight success, I've got a Google Glass invite to sell you. The real war of currents? Less a futuristic Tony Stark moment, more like an endless, glitchy Windows update. Though AC came to be widely accepted, some narratives unfairly depict Edison as anti-science and resistant to innovation. You've been duped by Hollywood and bitter Tesla fanboys alike. If you think Edison was some anti-science fossil, it's time to upgrade your facts, because the truth will obliterate what you've been fed. Everyone loves that tired tale. Stodgy Edison, villain of progress, crushing genius underfoot. The current war painted him as innovation's Scrooge, and those Edison electrocuted elephants memes? Pure smoke and mirrors. Here's the punchline. Edison basically invented the startup accelerator back in the 1870s-80s with Menlo Park, a mad lab pumping out over 400 patents. See, Menlo Park Notebooks, 19th century archives. He wasn't chasing cheap tricks. Edison's X-ray research shoved science decades forward, so much that his assistant Clarence Daly died from it. Edison's 1896 technical papers. The phonograph? Edison's obsessive brainchild, not some corporate PR stunt. If Edison hated innovation, then Elon Musk is the poster child for humility. If you bought this myth, congrats. You just tried streaming Netflix on a VHS tape. Additionally, controversies over innovation extend to inventions like radio, where Tesla is said to have been robbed of credit before Marconi. You've been hoodwinked by internet fanboys and sensational documentaries. Tesla did not invent radio before Marconi, and no, he wasn't some plucky underdog erased from history. Hollywood, Tesla-obsessed Reddit crusaders, and even glossy 1990s pop science books shoved this geek hero myth down your throat. Here's the unfiltered truth. Marconi slammed down his first wireless telegraphy patent in 1896. British patent, no. 2039, beating Tesla's key patents filed between 1897 and 1900, like U.S. Patent 645-5-6. The courts? Decades of legal wrangling dragged on. Sure, Tesla's designs were cited, But the 1943 U.S. Supreme Court ruling that acknowledged him came long after Marconi snagged his 1909 Nobel Prize. And radio back then wasn't Ariana Grande blasting hits. It was Morse code bleeps. Marconi's tech nailed the first transatlantic signal in Newfoundland, 1901, sending waves worldwide. So if you swallowed the line that Tesla was radio's Batman, congratulations, you binged History Channel, not history. Today's myths are as absurd as thinking TikTok ruined civilization overnight. Beyond disputes over credit, popular images show both Edison and Tesla working in isolated, dimly lit labs, enhancing their legendary statuses. Hollywood lied to you, and every dusty high school textbook you trusted. The tortured, candlelit lone genius hunched over a workbench? Total fiction, pumped up by Oscar-hungry studios and 19th-century hype machines rewriting history for drama. Think Edison brooding alone or Tesla zapping lightning like a mad wizard? That's pure myth. Blame Victorian writers and biopics who erased the armies of assistants behind the scenes. Actual lab photos from Edison's Menlo Park in the 1880s reveal a chaotic, crowded workshop, dozens packed in like a startup on steroids. Don't take my word. Edison's 1879 payroll shows over 30 employees in a single week. Tesla's lone genius phase? His own team, including PR managers, described it as a madhouse of 100 people, as chronicled in John Bradford's 1947 memoir. Still buying the solo inventor fantasy? Congrats, you've been binge-consuming Hollywood fairy tales. If real inventors worked alone, their LinkedIn would read, Professional Hermit. This solitary working image supports myths such as the idea that the light bulb was solely Edison's solo masterpiece. You've been sold a blinding lie. Hollywood and middle school textbooks turned Edison into a solo genius. But the real story? It's way brighter and way more crowded than the myth shoved down your throat. Everyone pictures Edison flipping a switch, yelling Eureka, and single-handedly snuffing out darkness. If you believe this, thank 20th century school curriculums and lazy films for erasing every British inventor and backup brain. Here's the truth bomb. Joseph Swan, a British inventor with iconic 19th century sideburns, patented a working light bulb in 1878, a full year before Edison, UK Patent Number 4933. Edison's lone genius lab was actually a buzzing hive of talent, including Princeton physicist Francis Upton and glassblower Ludwig Bohm, basically the Silicon Valley startup team of the 1880s. Edison Papers, Rutgers University. Bonus: Edison and Swan sued each other over the invention. So the next time you crown Edison alone? Reality check. Hollywood scammed you again. He didn't invent the light bulb. He just made it impossible to ignore, like a tech influencer hyping up last year's smartphone. Despite such accolades, Tesla was reportedly ignored for decades until modern pop culture revived interest in his work. You've been bamboozled by Netflix documentaries and viral memes. The myth that Nikola Tesla vanished into obscurity only to be resurrected by 21st century geeks is Hollywood's biggest lie. Hollywood, the king of the underdog redemption plot, has scrubbed history clean to sell you a tearjerker. If you believe Tesla was some tragic, ignored genius until Twitter and Reddit made him tech cult royalty, you've swallowed fake history whole. Blame this rewriting on pop-sci YouTube channels, flashy 2000s docs, and Christopher Nolan's 2006 film The Prestige, all hooked on the lonely genius cliché. Here's the real shocker. Tesla was headline news during his lifetime. He graced the cover of Time magazine in 1931 for his 75th birthday and earned the New York Times in Spotlight decades earlier. The U.S. Supreme Court even ruled in 1943 that Tesla, not Marconi, was the true inventor of the radio. That's not the footprint of a forgotten man. If you think Tesla only hit fame when Elon Musk launched the Model S, congrats, you just failed history to fuel a meme. That's like believing Shakespeare was unknown until a TikTok remix. Ultimately, these myths and narratives frame Edison and Tesla as selfless geniuses who set out to change the world. You've been flat out lied to by Hollywood and those dusty old textbooks. Edison and Tesla weren't noble saviors. They were ruthless fame chasers, just like today's viral social media stars. Hollywood? Dead wrong. Textbooks? Straight up complicit. Everyone loves to paint Edison and Tesla as selfless geniuses slogging away for humanity, but that's pure fantasy. Films like The Current War And countless so-called documentaries whitewash their cutthroat business tactics and massive egos. Here's the bank-breaking truth. U.S. Patent Office archives reveal Edison's 1889 contracts are loaded with patent traps and cash grabs. Less science messiah, more corporate shark. Meanwhile, Tesla's desperate 1890s letters to Gilded Age tycoons like J.P. Morgan, see Morgan Library, show he was begging for bankrolls, not just pumped about discovery. And those grand electrifying demos in New York, 1893? The New York Sun called them OG TED Talks, flash and hype, not selfless sacrifice. If you believe they worked for exposure, wake up. You've mistaken them for unpaid interns. Reality check. Genius? Absolutely. Saints? Not even close. They were world-class hustlers with killer personal brands, playing a game as cutthroat as any influencer chasing likes today.